What's up everyone, Zach Seif here, and today we're going to talk about 5 reasons why you should consider a modern Stratocaster. So what do I mean when I say a modern Stratocaster? Basically what I'm talking about is any current variation of this classic electric guitar design. And the reason why I want to talk about modern design strats as opposed to vintage or true to spec or anything that's really, stuck in the past is because I feel that there's such a wide advantage to having something that's a bit newer and takes what the traditional style of the guitar was and everything that it stood for back in the day and bring it into a more modern time frame so that people today can appreciate it even more and find more use for it, just like people back in the day were blown away by the original. And before any of you go into the comments and start talking about, well, Hendrix only needed this and Clapton only needed that and Stevie only needed this, the year is 2022. If we stay stuck in the past, there's no way that we can move forward. We can still appreciate everything that the original Stratocaster stood for, but we can bring it into our current time frame and turn these guitars into something even better. So today we're going to talk about 5 reasons why I think modern style Stratocasters are better than vintage style Stratocasters. Real quick, just take 2 seconds and hit the subscribe button below. Help me reach my goal of 2,000 subscribers by the end of the year. According to my analytics, 85% of you who watch my videos on a regular basis are not subscribed. Seems pretty odd to me, right? Take 2 seconds, hit that button, it helps me out a ton. And with that out of the way, let's get on to today's video. So the first major thing that I want to talk about is playability. When you go to a store and you pick up a vintage Strat or a vintage spec Strat, the first thing you're going to recognize is the neck radius, right? Most vintage Strats are 7.25 radius, meaning that they're very easy to play chords on in this upper kind of cowboy chord area. But as you start getting up, you can start to bend out notes because the radius is just so small, and it makes the guitar very hard to use in a modern context, right? The whole guitar really isn't playable, and I think that if I'm going to be dropping 4, 5, 6 digits on a guitar, I want to be able to play the whole damn guitar, right? So something like this LsL Saticoy guitar, which is what I'm going to be using throughout today's video, comes with a 12-inch radius. A lot of companies offer this. Fender uses 12-inch radiuses, Charvel, Jackson, Schecter, so many brands use them because it's a great balance between the vintage 7.25 and even the Gibson and PRS 10-inch scales to the more modern approach where a lot of companies are using 15, 17, and 20-inch radiuses. So 12 makes it so that you can play chords nice and easy throughout the entire neck, and you can bend up and down the entire neck as well without worrying about fretting out or anything like that. And it just makes the guitar easier to play, it makes it more comfortable, and it just gives you a better overall experience, right? You don't have to fight the instrument, you can actually enjoy playing it. The second reason is that these guitars are much easier to adjust and set up and work on, right? I used to have a custom shop Stratocaster, which you can check out in the video link over here. And as much as I loved the feel of that guitar and the sound of that guitar, it was perfect on paper, you had to take the neck off to adjust it. That is extremely impractical. I can't take a guitar like that on the road and get on stage, get ready to play a set, and then realize that, oh, my neck is concave, I gotta adjust it. Hey, hold on a second, let me grab my power drill, take the entire neck off the guitar, make an adjustment, put the neck back on, check it, and then go from there. You know how much time and how big of a pain in the ass it is to take a neck off of a guitar to make an adjustment while you're on stage. It's so impractical. So I sold that guitar and got money to purchase a Silver Sky, which eventually I traded for the LsL that I have now. There's no reason to deal with more issues than you need to on the road. It's hard enough keeping things in tip-top shape as it is. So the fact that I can adjust the truss rod from up here and on some of my more modern guitars like the Petrucci lineup of Ernie Ball Music Man, there's a little thumb wheel adjuster. So highly recommend that you check out guitars like that for that reason alone. When it comes to the electronic switching, right? The OG Stratocaster and a lot of the vintage counterparts have the three-way toggle that the originals did, meaning that you could only get the bridge pickup, the middle pickup, and the neck pickup, but you couldn't get all these sweet fourth and second position sounds that most people look for in a Stratocaster, right? Back then, you had to kind of just get it to sit right or use a toothpick to kind of block it, something like that. You don't have to worry about it. Make it easier for yourself. Stop giving yourself more obstacles while playing live and just get something with a 5-way switch so you can get all the tones that you need very easily. The third reason to consider a more modern take on a Strat versus a vintage style is the fact that you just have more options. You know, you're not stuck to just having 3 single coils. You can get a bridge pickup. And this guitar in particular has a PAF style bridge pickup, which is voiced after those classic vintage Gibson guitars. So now I have like the best of both worlds. And I also have a little push on my tone knob here, which perfectly splits the bridge coil to act and respond just like a legitimate Stratocaster would. So now in position 1, when this is split, I have a straight up single coil sound. That sounds legit. And in position 2, I can get that classic Sweet Home Alabama twang by having it split. Or, like we're talking about today, right, everything being more modern, I can get a regular humbucker when it's like that. And when I go to position 2, I can have a humbucker and single coil sound, which I tend to use on my PRS guitars quite a bit. And it just gives you a nice balance between something that's full, like a humbucker, and something that's a bit more spank, like a single coil. And electronics aside, you can just get different wood combinations and get a more aesthetically pleasing guitar and something that might be a little easier to play. I have a beautiful, gorgeous, incredible roasted maple neck on the back of this guitar with a nice worn-in finish so I can play the entire guitar and not get caught in any of like the glossiness of most necks. And we also have locking tuners, which makes string changes faster and easier. If I break a string on stage, it takes me maybe 60 seconds to take it off, put a new one, lock it, tune it back up, ready to go. Right, all these modern appointments just make the guitar easier to play, easier to adjust, and it allows me to spend less time messing with the guitar and more time making music, which is the most important thing. Fourth reason why I think you should consider a modern Strat versus a vintage style Strat is the price. We can look anywhere online and get a good ballpark for 70 Strats, 60 Strats, 50 Strats. You're going to be dropping a mortgage payment on a lot of these guitars, and some of the more sought after models or artist played guitars like the Gilmore Strat and the Clapton Strats and the SRV Strats, you're dropping millionaire money on those things. Most of us don't have that kind of money, right? So I'd much rather have something that's more affordable, right? Something in the $2,000 to $4,000 range, which again is a lot of money. Don't get me wrong. That's not just a walk in the park for most people. But I'd much rather spend, $2,000 to $4,000 on a guitar with incredible specs, that's well built, that has no defects or issues with it, than something that's 2 to 5 to 10 to 100-fold the price that will probably have extremely worn out frets, dried out capacitors, shoddy soldering jobs, parts that need to be replaced, necks that are warped. You know what I'm talking about. One of the biggest issues that I have with the vintage guitar market is the fact that everyone is so hell-bent on keeping everything in its original condition, right? Now here's the problem I have with that. Would you buy a 60s Camaro with the original tires and the original oil? No, because the car is not going to work like that. All right, so why would you buy a guitar from the 50s, 60s with the original frets or the original strings on it, right? You can't play a guitar if the frets are completely worn out, or the neck needs to be adjusted, or it has dead electronics or dried caps and stuff like that. It needs to be playable. If you're a collector and you just want to hang it on your wall as a museum piece, go knock yourself out. I'm not here to tell you how to spend your excessive amounts of money, right? You do what makes you happy, whatever floats your boat. But for me, someone who's a full-time professional musician who needs their tools to function, I'd much rather have something that is built using modern tools and equipment with an extremely low tolerance for fluctuation in any direction in measurement, spec, stuff like that, and something where it's just built better. They just are. And I stand by that statement 100%. And the fifth and final reason why I prefer modern strats over vintage strats is because we just can't be stuck in the past all the time. Musicians are almost negatively affected by this whole, what's the word I'm looking for? Nostalgia of the past, right? We're kind of stuck in this bubble that everything needs to be exactly the same way that it was back when X or Y came out, right? We're still talking about Hendrix, the Stones, the Beatles, right? All that kind of stuff. And we're stuck in, we need a Fender Strat and a Gibson Les Paul into a Marshall Plexi half stack or a twin reverb or a Vox AC30. And for some people, that gets the job done. That is awesome. But for me, if we continue to stay stuck in the past, we're not going to be able to move forward, right? Every industry moves forward at a pretty rapid pace, right? If you have a computer that's still running Windows 95 on it, you're probably not able to do anything on it except maybe open up the most basic version of an archaic Microsoft Word, right? It's not like those browsers are supported anymore. No one's using dial-up anymore. No one's running on those AOL cards, right? No one's using cell phones from the 90s anymore. No one's using VHS and VCRs anymore, right? Even cassettes and 8-tracks, no one's using those anymore. Every industry is moving forward, and the music industry should be no different. We should really embrace the future while still maintaining a little bit of tradition, but we should take it and move forward with it and see what we can do with it. And I think that Leo Fender would agree. He would argue that the strats he made in the 50s were not as good as the ones that were being made in the 60s before he left and sold the company to CBS. Right, and even then, he went on to start G&L and Music Man and these other companies that took the iconic Strat design and made them better. New electronics, new appointments, new dimensions, new approaches to the guitar to keep on moving it forward. And if he kept on moving forward, then we should too. And I think that is why we should consider these more modern options versus the more vintage style. That's gonna wrap up today's video. I would love to hear all of the opinions that you guys have. Drop those in the comments section below. I read and respond to every single one. Let's try to have a nice, friendly, healthy, but interesting discussion down there on the whole modern vintage debate, right? You guys can check me out on social media. All of those links are in the description box below, as well as links to my music, my band, my gear, all that kind of stuff. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, because I'm pretty sure you didn't do that before. So just a friendly reminder, take 2 seconds, hit that button, help me reach my goals as a content creator. Until next time, everyone, keep on practicing, keep on rocking, and stay safe.